episode. Oh my goodness, such high expectations. I'll be shivering with nervousness. But anyway, I am here. I have to answer the call. So it's a great pleasure to be here. Since I joined CCTV 20 years ago, I have been doing one thing. Actually, since I entered Nanjing University to study English in 1993, I have set the goal for myself to be a bridge between China and the rest of the world. And for the past 20 years after I joined CCTV, I've been doing just that. Now, China has entered a new era. What does this mean to me? Now, a host of an opinion show on CGTN, formerly known as CCTV News or CCTV International or CCTV 9, in all, the international TV of CCTV. Before I give you my answers, I would like to share with you a personal story about my serendipity with China Daily. In 1995, I won the first ever national English public speaking competition organized by China Daily, the first of its kind in China. I won, and then I represented China to participate in the international public speaking competition. I won again, and there I was being received by Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, as part of the honor. And thank you, Lao Huangli. Anyway, he asked me jokingly, "So you also speak Chinese?" That was quite funny. Anyway, my topic 20 years ago was about choice, and you know, China was undergoing reform and opening up for about 15 years. So we Chinese, for the very first time in history, had the abundance of choice in our daily lives. What did choice mean to me back then as a college student? And I divided my answers in three parts: opportunities, challenges, and responsibilities. 20 years later, or over 20 years later, I'm standing on the same stage facing a very similar question. What a pleasure and what a coincidence. And I think it is only fitting that I give the answers in a similar structure. But this time, I'm going to talk about challenges first, then the opportunities, and finally, my responsibilities as I become more confident of who I am and how the future will be looking like. So, let's go. China into a new era, challenges. China enters the new era with greater confidence, but with a certain image deficit and trust deficit. I call it this way. Because of the ideological differences between China and the West, China has always been the subject or target of Western media criticism or scrutiny, sometimes downright bashing based on falsehoods. For instance, this is the kind of political cartoon you'll be reading on the Western press about China's ambition, world's #1, crushing the US along the way. That was drawn in December 2014. And now China has defied all kinds of predictions of I should go back, yeah. Now that China has defied all kinds of predictions of a regime collapse or economic hard landing, Western observers and commentators are at a loss of words to explain the China phenomenon, the one-party dictatorship, how come it can make it? And the resulting feeling among the general public in the West, I describe it like this, could be a superiority complex mixed with bewilderment, possibly iced with envy and jealousy. On the other hand, China has also been a scapegoat for some domestic policy failures in Western countries. In the US, for instance, the loss of jobs has been blamed squarely on Chinese competition in the mainstream US media. Again, a Western political cartoon. China currency so heavy, move it, will ya? Politicians then would put unfair pressure on China to score domestic political gains, reinforcing the general public's skepticism and misunderstanding about China. By the way, that picture reminded me of a sentence in Kung Fu Panda. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? That famous line was when the jaguar was telling the panda, "What can you do? Sit on me?" Did it ring a tone? Anyway, so that was the kind of scapegoating China had to suffer. As a result, we're looking at the kind of trust deficit and image deficit in the Western general public. A survey conducted by the Committee of 100 last year, for instance, found that the majority of Americans responding to that survey, 73%, think that China's growing military power, and 63% of the respondents think that China's growing economic power is a potential to a serious threat. Last October, in the Asia-Pacific region, the picture is also mixed. Last October, right before the 19th National Congress of the CPC, the Pew Research Center, a leading US survey company, did a survey to find out about how China was viewed in the eyes of 8 Asia-Pacific countries. And the survey found little consensus as to whether or not China's economic growth was more of a good thing or a bad thing for their country. Most people in that region thought that China's growing military power was worrying, and many in the region thought that China's growing power and influence in the Asia-Pacific was a key concern, greater than their concern about the United States. But the picture is not all doom and gloom. As we say in Chinese, in every crisis we see an opportunity. Let's look at the opportunities we're faced with in the international media in the near future. Now, the world's impression, as I said, about China, although mixed in some parts, in some regions, generally have been positive. Let's look at a survey carried out jointly by the China Foreign Languages Publishing Administration and the global research firm Cantor, Millward Brown, and Lightspeed. What they found out after talking to people aged 18 to 65 in 20 countries is that, in general, people have a positive view about China. The score is 6.22 out of a total of 10. 及格了, but still in the positive territory. And the survey also shows that China's image in developing countries' people's eyes is much better than in the eyes of people in developed countries. There you have the comparison. In developing countries, 6.9, and in developed countries, 5.6. So there's a difference there. And the trend has actually been reinforced over the past year. According to a Gallup poll released last Thursday, we all know this company, very famous, the world's population more approval of China's leadership than the leadership of the United States in 2017. And we can look at the figure. The median approval of the US's leadership has dropped to 30%, whereas their approval of China's leadership has increased to 31%. The difference is really small, by the way, but still, we are ahead than the United States, which is good news. So looking at the numbers, I wonder why China has been able to win more hearts in the eyes of the world's people, especially in developing countries. President Xi Jinping gave his answers in his research to the 19th National Congress of the CPC. He said, China's transformation offers a new option for other countries and nations who want to speed up their development while preserving their independence. And it offers Chinese wisdom and a Chinese approach to solving the problems facing mankind. I think that is a very significant paragraph. For decades, the world's developing countries had very limited choice when it comes to their development path. Economically, they were given that neoliberalist prescription. You have to take it, it's good for you, but in the end, they were exposing themselves, they were opening up their domestic market and industries without prudence, exposing themselves to financial crisis or economic crisis before they could build up a solid economic foundation. Outside aid and assistance often came slowly with low efficiency and with many strings attached. Politically, most countries had to take side in order to get their protection or safety. The world was either friends or foes. And when the Cold War ended, the Cold War mentality stayed on. Nowadays, still, countries, developed ones and developing ones, have to cede part of their sovereignty for their safety. In international affairs, we're also seeing a gloomy picture. One or two countries can dictate how things are run. The fundamental values and principles that have been enshrined in the UN Charter have been ignored, together with for instance, the ultimate prudence against the use of force, the importance of peaceful solutions to the issues we're faced with, the importance of cooperation, together with solidarity and unity. Since the Trump administration came into power last year, the trend has become even more worrisome. National interests have been put to a level higher than our joint commitment to this world and to, I'm not going to say mankind, I'm going to say humankind. I learned my lesson. And major countries' responsibilities to the world is being turned into carefully calculated bargaining chips. I don't like that. So the world is being pulled into two different directions. One is based on ideology and conflict-driven. The other is inspired by the inspiration for common prosperity and cooperation-driven. I think the world's people are making up their mind about where they want to go. That is the historic responsibility we are faced with in this new day and age. And this is, in my eyes, the soul of CGTN in this new era. Our motto, see the difference, is just right to the point. So while China has a great story to tell, the media marketplace is also shifting in profound ways. And here lies the second opportunity I want to talk about. Traditionally, people have relied on TV, relied on a few Western correspondents or commentators, experts on information and opinions about China. But now it doesn't have to be like that. We are here. CGTN is there. China Daily is there. So people have a lot more information. According to some statistics, over the past year, the international recognition of the brand of CGTN has increased from 13% to 30%. The 12.8% of international viewers, when they want to find out about a China-related story, they were tuned to us, an increase of 4%. Also in some parts of the world, for instance, in France, in the Philippines, and in 5 African countries, our viewership has jumped by 3/4, extremely considerable. And on the new media platform, the growth has been exponential. Within 1 year, the total number of followers of CGTN on all international platforms and domestic platforms totaled over 95 million. CGTN is now the world's #1 news account on Facebook. And it's the same picture across the board for Chinese media, for Chinese international media. So indeed, by the way, we have a lot of people watching us on their mobile devices, real-time, unedited. This was just not possible a couple of years ago. So indeed, another great opportunity for all of us here. However, let's not forget our international counterparts are also vying for greater influence. They're also doing the same thing, and the fight for the international microphone is set to become uglier. So in this day and age, how can we in the international media of China make a real impact? What is my responsibility? There you go, 95 million. Yes, thumbs up to ourselves. Responsibilities. Okay, the point. We are a weeknight opinion show. On average, during each episode, we'll talk about 2 topics. We'll invite 2 to 3 guests to come and express their opinions and have a debate or agree with each other. And they come from different parts of China and different parts of the world. Our topics are indeed wide-ranging, from hip-hop music to blockchain, from environmental protection to nuclear non-proliferation, you name it. It's like a fast food restaurant, I would say. Within less than 15 minutes, I have to bring out enticing dishes for the audience, for them to consume, before we move on to the next course. So there you go. That's how I see myself sometimes. Right, so there are different ways to do it. You can throw some raw ingredients together, heat it up in the microwave oven, and then just serve it carelessly. Or you can think about it. Design the recipe, design the menu, yes. Find the most original and fresh ingredients. Cook in a way to bring out the most natural flavor and present with warmth and a touch of style. I choose the second approach. It sounds simple, but it's not easy because every step in that process counts. First, you have to find facts. And fact-finding is essential for us because facts is what opinions are based upon. If you get the facts wrong or incomplete, you risk forming the wrong conclusion. A good example was this piece of video. I think many of you have watched this. This went viral on the social media, even many mainstream international media aired it. It's about US President Donald Trump feeding the fish. The idea was people were laughing at him for not respecting local customs or jeopardizing the fish's life because he, after a few spoonfuls, he just dumped the whole bowl of fish feed into the pond. People say, look, you're trying to kill the fish because the fish will keep eating. However, if you take the entire piece of video, you would see that he was simply following the example of his host, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, because Abe did that first, and then he did that. But people purposely cut out the first part and try to make fun of him. A lot of people fell for the trap. It's very, very slippery ground. Secondly, how do you organize the discussion so that people can most easily follow you? How do you lay the groundwork? Where do you start? Where do you finish? How do you give every, how do you give every guest an equal amount of time to speak, whether or not I agree with what they say? This is the usual lineup of an average discussion. There, nobody is speaking. Yeah, we have absolute equality and tranquility there, but on a daily basis, you have to give everybody a fair amount of a talk. And let me tell you, they are live. You know, nobody tells them what to say. So they come and say, I don't agree with what China is doing, and you have to let them finish their sentence. And you have to do that if you call yourself an international media, if you want to be credible. Finally, there are the technical aspects, the camera work, the lighting, the makeup, the wardrobe. Behind every single aspect, real work has to go in to really make the show a professional production. Some of you might say, professionalism is important, but is that going to be enough to give China a stronger voice? What about the bias that China has been suffering? Is this weapon powerful enough? Well, I understand the desire to be more assertive, and I want to be assertive sometimes when I'm supported by facts. But I believe we always face the danger of putting our feelings in front of our reason, putting our opinions in front of the facts. While China is offering the world a new option, a new approach, or the Chinese wisdom, let's not forget it is something that is unprecedented in human history. China has never done it. The world has never seen it. It is likely that we might have detours, we might make mistakes, we might bump into problems. And it's natural that the world is going to misunderstand us, is going to be critical of us, is going to be afraid of us. Our responsibility is not to oversell the China wisdom, but to document and explain the journey of China's rise. Let history be our judges. President Xi Jinping said, not angling, that is our team, by the way. President Xi Jinping said, and I love this sentence, not angling for compliments. I would be content if my integrity fills the universe. While the Chinese people are working hard to make China a stronger country and help building a community of common future for humankind, my job is to tell China as it is, not more, not less, one topic at a time, one show at a time. It is not only a challenge, but also a pleasure, as it has been speaking with you about it today. As I always wrap up at the end of my show, follow me on Facebook or Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Today I'm adding one. Follow me on Weibo using Liu Xin, CGTN. download the application called CGTN to watch our show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN, The Point. Thank you very much.